Okay, welcome everyone to our Executive Insights podcast. My name is Dr. Mark Robinson. I'm the director for the School of Business here at iGlobal University. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll be having women in leadership featured on our Executive Insights podcast. But today, I'm very thrilled to have a dear friend and a professional colleague, Dr. Charlene Walters. Charlene, welcome to our Executive Insights podcast.
Thanks so much for having me on today, Mark. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. Well, it's been a long time since we last reconnected through Strayer University, et cetera. But, you've had all this great experience in education. You've worked in businesses. Now you've gone out on your own. And I understand from your LinkedIn profile that you're now listed as a business mentor, consultant, corporate trainer, contributor, TV host, and now author. So congratulations for building up a really solid resume of accomplishments.
Thank you so much. I do a little bit of everything, as you can tell, and it's a lot of fun.
So I wanted to start off the podcast by asking you about your decision to write your first book entitled Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur. Can you talk to us about that book and that process?
Definitely. So it's always been a goal of mine to write a book. And I started off undergrad as an English major, always had this idea about writing a book, but I sort of put it on the back burner. And then later on, as I gained more education and more experience, I decided that I wanted to write a book on entrepreneurship. I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I started thinking about all those topics that I like to speak and talk about and teach. And it boiled down to entrepreneurial mindset. So I started looking at what was available on the market and realized there wasn't a lot aimed specifically at women. So this book really talks about those things that you need to do to be successful in entrepreneurship, which, as you know, Mark, is just a huge jump, a huge leap. And a lot of your success or failure ultimately has to do with the way that you're thinking. So really the book is in an effort to support women who want to start businesses out there, to help them with those areas that may be more challenging for them. Although I've talked to a lot of men who said that the things that I talk about more than apply to them. And that's absolutely true. Okay. It kind of has to do with building confidence, taking action, becoming more innovative and creative, and then just being resilient to stick with all the setbacks that you'll face. So that's what inspired me to write the book.
No, I think it's a great idea. And, I'm sure it does fit a niche in the marketplace, because there are, lots of books on entrepreneurship and leadership and marketing. You name the topic, there's a bevy of books out there on the topic. In your mind, what makes this book different than any of the other ones on entrepreneurship in the marketplace?
So there are some books about, finding out and adjusting the way that you think to be successful. But I think what's different about this book is, as I said, it's aimed at women, but also there's a workbook at the end to kind of help you apply whatever you're doing. And I've talked to a lot of women who are already in business, and they said that it's really helped them kind of drill down and go back to the basics and kind of reinvent themselves and move forward in business. And I think that's what we all need, whether we're just starting out or whether we've been there a while. We need sort of to go back and outline our ideas and keep developing plans so that we can move ahead. So I think in that way it's different. I also throw a lot of jokes in there because I have sort of a sick sense of humor. So I try to entertain people along the way. And, it's like many books, but coming from a different perspective. And I think right now, as many people left the workforce during the pandemic, it's a perfect time because more and more people are turning towards entrepreneurship.
That's true. And especially as people are trying to return to the job market, there's thousands of jobs out there, but very few applicants. So perhaps a lot of these folks are aspiring, entrepreneurs. So I think it does fit a really important need in the marketplace. What have you found in your research, talking to students, talking to folks in the industry? Are there some subtle differences or challenges for women who are doing their entrepreneurship?
Definitely. So there are quite a few things, but one of them is that women tend to suffer more from imposter syndrome. They have this need to feel perfect before they jump into anything. And when you're starting a new business, you're certainly not going to be Perfect. So the book helps to kind of build up your confidence, help you overcome that imposter syndrome. Nobody's perfect. We're sort of raised many times as women that we have to look a certain way, act a certain way. And when we go against that, it's sort of against how we were brought up. So it's many of those issues combined with other things. Women also have a more difficult time negotiating. In many cases, we're taught to be nice, to play fair. So it's learning to kind of unlearn those behaviors and know that it's okay to do those things. It's okay to work on your personal brand, put yourself front and center. It's okay to negotiate. It's okay to be confident and to present yourself well. So just boosting up those areas. And all entrepreneurs, of course, one thing that's common, whether you're a man or woman, is being able to overcome the obstacles, because you'll fail all the time in business. And I think today we see all these really successful entrepreneurs out there. And so when we hit our first snag, we think, why aren't we like them? Well, nobody is posting on Instagram that they just got rejected or they lost a client or whatever it is. So we have to keep that in mind.
Right. We always hear the good news, not about the struggles, right, of getting there.
Yes.
I think that's a great subject matter to discuss. So, as you look back over your career, you've worked in businesses, you've been at the higher education level, teaching, leading others. Can you talk to us a little bit about, how has your education played a role in your life and your career?
It has played a huge role, and you don't always know it at the time when you're a student that you're actually getting this value. So I mentioned earlier, I started off as an English major. I always thought I would write. My first job after undergrad was in sales, and I learned to really love business. And so at that time, I decided, you know what, I want to find out more about business. I went back and got my MBA. I really enjoyed learning more. And then I went into higher ed eventually and worked in helping other students, went back into business, sales and marketing again, because that was always my background, and decided eventually to go back and get a PhD in marketing. With each new degree, I always thought, do I really need this degree, right? But every time I did add to my education, so many more doors opened up for me. And I think that's the point that I love for students to know. Never worry about your education being a waste. It always helps you get other opportunities, and you just never know where it will lead you. And you don't have to have everything figured out right away. Use it as a stepping stone to the next thing. Education will always pay off in the end, because the best investment you can make is always in yourself.
I totally agree. And it does certainly help as you add to those things over the years, your degrees, being certified in new topics. Now it's all about diversity and inclusion. There's so many new topics out there that a friend of mine used to say, every couple of years you have to sort of reinvent yourself, right? Perhaps now it's getting faster than ever, but yeah, I mean, education is key no matter the school that you go to. So I appreciate your comments on that from a fellow professional and professorial PhD student. Any last minute thoughts you want to share with us about, students getting into the world of business, maybe connecting with people on LinkedIn? What sort of advice do you have?
So definitely you can achieve whatever you put your mind to. It's all about your mindset. And that's really the factor that separates those who succeed from those who fail. So I always tell people, if you have a goal, go after it, write down the steps that it'll take to make it, and then just keep going after it as much as you can. And as you said, Mark, too, you have to keep adding to your personal brand. We have to keep networking out there. And there are so many opportunities to do so on social media these days. I've made so many great connections on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram. People will help you and you'll help them. And the more you interact and put yourself in the conversation, the more it will come back to you. So go out there and do that.
Great. That's great advice, Charlene. Thank you so much. So we thank Charlene for her time today. Keep in mind, the book is entitled Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur by Dr. Charlene Walters. Charlene, always good to reconnect with you and talk business and talk education. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks so much, Mark. It was great to talk to you too.
Take care. Thank you.